in these?
No, that's since I've been, texting you back and forth. So, morning, everybody. Welcome back to Shine Together. I am your host and founder, Pretty Bidet. You are tuning in for your cup of courage, hope, and imagination today with our awesome Chai Together mugs. And show yours off, Travis.
Look at this bad boy, huh? Look at this monstrosity. This thing is huge. This is a hug mug.
And show them what it does.
Oh, yeah. You can hold it like this, and it warms up your hands. Look at that.
I love that. Hi, Rhonda. I like your watch as well. What brand is that?
This is an Invicta. And all the stuff we're showcasing today, this was a gift from a friend of mine. I don't actually buy any of my own stuff. I just accept gifts.
Yeah. I really like that mug, though. Is it hand painted or it's a print?
Hand painted.
It looks hand painted.
I was talking with Michael and Julie Hicks from Hicks Strong, and this was my old logo. This old like 3-dimensional design that doesn't work very well with T-shirts and stuff. And I was like, how can we like automate this process and speed it up? It's like, well, we have to hand paint them. And I was like, why do we have to hand paint them? And then they sent me this, and I discovered why they have to hand paint them. This is amazing. I wouldn't want it any other way.
How much are they? Do you know?
30?
Yeah.
For a hand-painted, hand-designed mug?
I would pay like $80 to $100. I feel like that's its value. Hand-painted, right? Don't you agree?
I think it's amazing. I've never seen anything like this anywhere else on the market, and they're spending the time to hand-paint it and fire it in a kiln and ship it out.
It should be more than that.
No, absolutely.
You should have me speak to them. I'll be like, that's $100.
$100 mug, okay.
Wow. Well, it's really nice talking to you in person today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Been waiting for a while, right?
I know. I connected you with everyone else in my circle but myself. Yeah. So how was all that? Is good?
How was what?
Connecting with everyone else.
Oh, yeah. I've got like a whole list. I've been on like 5 or 6 shows because of your circle of friends. Oh, my goodness. I love when I get connected with the right people, and it just makes life so much easy.
I'm glad. Yeah. I think we connected through, what is it, a podcast collaboration group or no? I don't even recall. Yeah.
Well, yeah. We're here now.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. It's awesome to have you. So I'm going to tell the viewers, about you. And I really want to get into some of this stuff because I think your story I've never heard it before, everything that you're saying here. So this is Mr. Travis Johnson, and he shares his perspective as a former vice president of Books by Vets, a board member at the Shine Foundation. He's donated over $30,000, volunteered over 1,500 hours, raised more than $500,000, helped start 6 nonprofits. He's an event coordinator and a published author. Travis is currently serving as an active duty officer in the United States Navy. Shout out. He's married with 2 children. They're adorable. And he's on move number 50. His humble beginnings include 36 moves before graduating high school at the age of 17 to 6 states, 5 foster homes, and surviving 2 murder attempts. Although this is very rough, there was always a person, group, or church willing to help him and his family. Now that he's in a position to give back, he's made it his mission to help the helpers. How incredible is that? So how do you feel like when I read that about you?
Well, I forget that I wrote it that way. So as you're talking, I'm like, oh man, I've been through some stuff. Like I need to take a sip after all that. I'm like, I did that? Jeez.
Wow. Yeah, I really love that mug. So how old are you, Travis? Do you mind sharing?
I am 39.
That's it? And you went through all that? It's like, and you don't look, old per se. It's like a whole lifetime already,
It's a couple of lifetimes, let's be honest. I think I'm up to 5 now, 5 lifetimes worth of stuff.
Oh my God. Wow. So where would you like to start?
I'm pretty open.
Anywhere.
Wherever you want to,
So
whatever you want to ask about.
yeah, you said you moved already over, was it 36 times before 17? Was your family in the military or what was the reason?
Military can't afford to move people twice a year, every year for 18 years. I mean, the taxpayers would be outraged if you're like, how much does it cost to move somebody? That's ridiculous.
Oh my
No,
God.
I'm a child of a mom with bipolar disorder with
Mm.
psychotic features, and which included hallucinations, audio and visual, which are normally tagged as schizophrenia. So every time she needed treatment, my sister and I would have to go somewhere else, either with a family member or into a foster care.
Wow. I can
Yeah.
relate to that because my mom does have schizophrenia and I'm here with her right now. And it's why I don't know if you've seen, I'm on my third suicide prevention training. So I'm
Mhm.
certified in youth psychosis. And you know what I do here is because I started it because of my mom. I needed a support group. Like I needed, to tell people about what I'm going through because there's not enough content out there about schizophrenia and,
There's not.
people, yeah, people with parents with it. I found only two South Asian women who were making a YouTube video out of, what, millions of videos, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, is your mom still, with us now? Or,
Yeah, she's still around and kicking. And when she's living a very structured lifestyle, taking her medicine same time every day, living
mm,
relatively stress free, it's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because I personally don't know anyone who's had to, go into foster care and different situations like that because of their parent having, a mental, disorder.
Mhm.
So, what did that do for you? Do you feel like it made you more empathetic or like what was your experience with your mom, having bipolar? Like it affected you a lot or no?
Well, it
Not
depends on
regarding
when.
moving, like emotionally, like did she project that onto you? Like how did you feel?
Well, I didn't even know until
Mm,
like fourth grade that I was the only one moving. Like I thought everyone was doing this. I had no idea, right? It's what you're conditioned with. If you're in a home, and you grow up getting smacked around until someone tells you that it's not normal, you don't know that it's not normal,
mm,
which is really unfortunate. That's just what you live with until you hear otherwise. And it wasn't until fourth grade, after like school number 9,
oh my
like
God.
they were like, "You moved how many times? That's weird." Kids, that's weird. You're weird. That's weird. And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Don't you guys move all the time?" And they're like, "No, like none of us. Like I know all these guys for like my whole life. Like, why are you moving all the time?" I was like, "I don't know. Like my mom drops me off somewhere and then she's gone for a while and she comes back." Um, so I didn't really understand for the longest time. Fourth grade, that's what, somewhere between 8 and 10 years old, depending on when you started school. I started school at 4, so uh, probably 8 or 9, and you don't really understand what's going on or what's happening or how you're different until someone points it out to you. I mean, isn't that true for a lot of situations, right? Like, someone has to tell you, like, "Hey, man, you can't say that," and you're like, "What? Why?" Because you sound like a jerk. What? You
Mm,
don't know until someone tells you that it's not appropriate behavior, that it's different, that it's out there because you're just manufacturing what you have from within you. And yeah, it changed me quite a bit at in fourth grade. I started acting like a jerk, lying, stealing, cheating, making up wild stories about why I was the way I was and how I got there and what was going on. I was really frustrated because I was like, I can just say whatever I want because I'm going to move anyway. And then
mm.
at the end of fourth grade year, we stayed there for like 3 school years, and I'm like, geez, now we stay put after I start being a jerk. Um, when you can't run away from all the people that are in your world causing you problems, it was like, well, I don't care about these people because I might move in 2 weeks. Why do I care? And you start getting a
Wow.
different perspective on life and the people around you in different situations. You come across things like, I don't know, doing a specific chore or a thing that needs to get done. And you're like, well, why are we doing it this way? And they'll say something like, well, it's my way or the highway. And you'll realize
Mm.
doing the same thing as the other people were doing, and they all said the same thing, but they're all doing it differently. And you discover that there's far more ways to do things than you ever thought possible. There's just closed minds.
Wow. So Miss Rhonda has a question. She wants to know, were you instrumental in your mom getting help when you found out, that she was going through that process? But you were so young. I mean, what help could you have provided? So what about now?
Well, I did actually take her to the hospital one time. We were at my
Mm.
uncle Rick's house, and this is actually one of my murder attempts. We're at my uncle Rick's house, and she was going through one of her fits and one of her things,
Mhm.
and he kicked us out of the house. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning. It's in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota at the time, and I drove her. This is before GPS. This is before all this stuff. I had my learner's permit. I drove her to the hospital in St. Cloud, and we got her checked in, and she was getting looked at. We were doing paperwork, and we fell asleep. My sister and I fell asleep. I got woken up a little bit later. My mom had fully straddled me, and she had a pillow over my face, and
Oh
she
my
was smothering me,
God.
trying to kill me because I'm the one that brought her to the hospital. So I grabbed my sister and we ran. We got in the car and we started driving. Luckily, we started driving the right direction, right middle of the night, before GPS. I don't even think we had a map in the car. I got on I-94 and just started driving west. We slept in a rest area in the parking lot before continuing the drive up to, I think, my grandma's house. I don't really remember what happened at the end of this drive, but got away from her so she could get help and we could be safe.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you ever get, that's trauma. So did you ever go to therapy or like get, any other support for this?
Oh, tons.
Because there's people who don't. Like I didn't have therapy until last year when I realized, I went through loss, and that's when I finally got help. But because I didn't get help, I was, clinically depressed and
Mhm.
suicidal for 12 years. So how important is therapy? Like, was that for you?
Well, it's vital. There's a few different methods. There's talk therapy. There's things like
Hmm.
EMDR. EMDR
Yeah.
is fantastic. If you're out there and you're struggling with something and you're hating talk therapy because every
Yeah.
time you talk through it, you relive the trauma, right? Look at EMDR. You don't have to talk about anything, and
Hmm.
it still is able to rearrange all this stuff up here to help you be successful. It wasn't our fault that that stuff happened, right?
Hmm.
But it's my responsibility to take action, to get the healing that I need to get, to make the choices I need to make, to build the life that I want to build.
I
And
can relate to all you moving around. I mean, I didn't move for that reason, but as I got older, before I got help, I was running away. When I went to Thailand for a year, it's like I was running away from my reality of my mom
Mhm.
being that way. You understand? So it's like I can relate to that. Now I face it, I'm not running away. Um, so yeah, how is your mom now?
Now she's pretty good. She still
Mm.
goes through her ups and downs and her cycles. And, part of when I talk to her, I have to determine who I'm talking to. At what point in the cycle is she every time I pick up the phone to see if she needs help or not. And I have people that I call to see if what I'm hearing is what they're seeing too.
Oh wow.
There's a guy out there called Kevin Hines. Check him out, Kevin Hines story. The demons in his head told him to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, and he did.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know him.
It
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't until his talk he came here to the Navy in Oklahoma City and talked to our squadron. I was like, "Hey, another suicide prevention talk," and I wasn't going to go because of how real it is in my world. And most time, those suicide prevention talks are really not helpful if you're considering. But I'm glad I went to his talk because he told me about auditory
Mhm.
hallucinations that I didn't know were part or could
Mhm.
be part of bipolar disorder because she didn't have schizophrenia, which is very common and one of the indicators that you have schizophrenia. So
Mhm.
he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, the same, but had the psychotic features of hallucinations, which I didn't know was possible. And that was the key for me to understand what was going on in my mom's world that I was missing all these years. But he has a little guide called The Art of Wellness, How to Be
Mm.
Mentally Well Most Days. And there's 10 steps that you go through. And one of those steps is building a this is kind of an analog solution, right? You can digitize it, make it your own thing, but it's a little packet that has all the stuff that's going on with you, all your doctor's numbers, indications that you might not be all right, and people in your world have this thing. So people at the local police department, your pastor, your school teacher, whomever is important and sees you day to day, has this information so they can help identify when things aren't going very well. And then if something is going not well, they know who to call.
Mm.
And which I think is just a fabulous way to look at this, because that's, taking responsibility for what's going on in your world. Because if you're handing these things out, or you're giving people a link that like, and trust them, and they can help identify what's going on. So you educate yourself and you educate the people around you to help you get help when you need it.
I really like that. That's like the next step because, I study suicide prevention at QPR Institute by Dr. Quintinet, and they give us also, the cards, but they're generalized questions, to ask someone who may be or not. But this is taking a next step by, customizing it, which I think is really better. And I wanted to tell you that my mom was also diagnosed with bipolar. And I believe that she has what your mom has because she's not having hallucinations that I know of and stuff more, but it's more of the psychotic, panic attacks and like, out getting outraged and then going back to normal. So it's really hard to decipher the two, especially if it's community mental health,
Mm-hmm.
like if you don't have a private doctor. And currently I'm studying Dr. Ammon's book. I'm reading his book, The End to Mental Illness. And I learned that it's brain health. And a lot of times it's psychiatrists. And if you don't have the funds, they don't take a look at your brain. They just diagnose you based on speaking with you. And I never realized that, like, if they were to take a look at her brain, maybe they can see it's like a diet or it's, but it's only however much doctors want to do. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that they're really handcuffed in the mental health care system. It was,
Yeah.
don't quote me on the date, there was some time in the 60s or 70s, right,
Before
where
my time.
before I was born, right? So they used to be able to put someone in a mental hospital against their will, right?
That's
And this
awful.
caused a lot of problems, as you might imagine. So the pendulum was like, we can just do whatever we want to you because we say that you're sick. And the pendulum swung the other way. And now you can only get forced treatment upon you if you're a danger to yourself or others, which I think that's an okay line. But when they went away with these hospitals, all right, because she was in a state facility up in Minnesota, which is like one of the coolest buildings in the country. Look up the Kirkbride in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. If you've not seen this thing, it's a monstrosity of a building. Um, but they cut funding for mental health services and they put it into public safety, right? So we have this giant tab for public safety, which is a cure and not prevention, right? And then what they've done with declassifying, or not declassifying, it's wasn't class, decriminalizing drug use in Portugal and then in Norway, and then they did studies in Baltimore. They're finding that putting money towards prevention costs a lot less than incarceration, right? For the same individual, I don't remember the exact number, but it's like $200,000 a year to incarcerate someone in Baltimore, but it's only $25,000 a year to provide mental health services. So if you can decriminalize some of these things, get some people out of the system, free up that cash, now you're able to help people essentially 10 to 1 over having them incarcerated. But we're not back to that point yet, US wide, where we can actually provide those kind of services.
You're a genius. From reading your bio, you help open 6 nonprofits and so much more and raise over 500,000, donated 30,000. How did you come out to do all this? Was it, took like a journey, like not all at once?
Well, I had been stationed in Oklahoma City for a number of years, and I finally got that feeling like I was home. I didn't know what
Oh,
home felt like till I was in my 30s. I was like, "Is this
see,
what
yeah,
home feels like?" I didn't know. Maybe I was 28. What was I doing? Took my daughter to a University of Oklahoma baseball game, and I was
yeah.
driving back, and I was like, "I kind of feel like I'm home." And that was the first time I've ever had felt that feeling. And I got to a place in my career where things were going well, it was pretty steady. And I'm like, I want to do something in the community. And I asked my friends, I
Mm.
asked around, I was like, what does it take to be part of a community? Like, I didn't know. I'd never been part of a community. I lived in communities, but I didn't
Yeah.
participate, right? I
Mm.
only participated in the official services they had to offer, like, guardian ad litem services, um, social workers, being a part of the court system, all that fun stuff.
Mm-mm.
And I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do people in communities do? And he's like, well, they give money and they help raise money and they get their names on buildings from donating a lot of money. They're on
Wow.
boards and they're signing petitions and they're active in the community and helping it make it a better place. I was like, well, I want to do that. I want to help the community do stuff. And he
Mm.
directed me to a networking group that I didn't know anybody. Here's the deal, right? I showed up with a great attitude, willing to help. That was it. All the qualifications I needed. I showed up and I had some conversations and I met this sweet old lady named Miss Patty, and she was telling me about her daughter named Safari and all
Mm.
the great things that she was doing. Wonderful name, right? All the great things she was doing in the nonprofit world and helping in Operation Smiles overseas and all these different things. I was like, wow,
Wow.
she sounds amazing. I'd love to meet her. And she's like, you missed her by about 2 years. She got killed by a drunk driver, and she was actually telling the story to help raise money for memorial. And we redirected our giving to help her build this memorial, which we built a few years ago on Crystal Lake here in South Oklahoma City. But that conversation led to other conversations about helping, about getting connected. And I joined the Chamber of Commerce again without a business at the time, just wanting to help and be useful in the community. And I went to an event and I hung out. And at the end, they were like, "Oh, Travis, you're like in the military or something, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm in the military." And she's like, "My friend Shannon's writing a book. And I guess all the authors are different military authors. I wonder if you could get your story in there."
Wow.
I thought that would be cool. So I wrote her an email and I said, "Hey, are you still looking for authors?" And she said, "Absolutely. I need 3,000 words and you've got like 4 days." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's going to be fine." I woke up the next morning. I already had the story in here, right? I've already had been speaking about my story and some different things. And I just went to work and I started writing about 2 hours. I knocked out 3,000 words and I sent it to
Yeah.
her and she said, "Thank you. And don't think I didn't notice that it was exactly 3,000 words. I'm in the military. Precision matters. She asked for 3,000. She got 3,000. Um, and largely unedited. And it got published in the book, Walk with Warriors. It's on Amazon. The name of the author is Shannon Whittington. And I loved what she was doing. And it's like, what is this? She's like, it's Books by Vets. We help veterans and first responders heal through sharing their story.
Wow.
And I was like, I love it. What do you need help with? Do you need board members? Do you need donors? What do you need? Do you need volunteers? She's like, yes, I need all
Oh,
those things. So she invited me to be on her board of directors at the time. And this is no longer an
yeah.
organization. It's now defunct. It's now a program under CLC, Creative Literary Consultants, where if you're a veteran, you get a discounted rate for getting your book published. But
Oh,
it was
wow.
free at the time. Oh yeah, really cool. Shannon's one of my good friends in my inner circle. And that led to me being on another board on the Shine Foundation. We did a lot of concerts. We did Wanda Jackson, Merle Haggard, BJ Thomas, Chris Christopherson, Jody Miller. A lot of old timey.
Yeah, nothing I
Um,
know.
Wanda Jackson was the biggest star out there right before rock and
Wow.
roll. She did rockabilly. She's actually,
Mm.
I'm in Oklahoma City. She's in the next neighborhood over. Still kicking.
Wow. You ever
Yeah.
met her?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
We've hung out a
wow.
couple times. Yeah. Um, She's a cute old woman right now, but she can still kill it on the microphone, let me tell you. And we're raising money.
Wow.
And before I know it, I had been doing all sorts of fun stuff. And then I got stationed in the Kingdom of Bahrain, which is a tiny little island nation in the Middle East. It's
Oh my
right off the
God.
coast of Saudi Arabia, in between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And I'm out there trying to figure out. Excuse me.
It's okay. Take your time. I
Just giving a
really,
little
really
plug.
like that.
Just giving a little plug for the hug mug here from the Hick Strong Foundation.
I really, really, really like that idea of hand painting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's probably the coolest mug I've ever seen.
They need to raise the price. Let them know.
Yeah. Well, originally they weren't selling them to anyone. You had to be part of the organization and do something. I was like, why wouldn't you be selling these things?
Yeah,
It's a
to
great way to raise
get
money.
as like a donation. Yeah.
It's like, she's like, yeah, everyone's been asking. I was like, well, take their money and give them a mug and say thank you for donating. But I got stationed out in Bahrain, and I was like, how am I supposed to keep doing all this fun nonprofit stuff? And someone's like, well, Travis, you do kind of have that smooth, buttery radio voice. I was like, oh, do I?
Yeah, you do.
Do I? And they're like, yeah, you should start like a podcast about this stuff. And I was like, well, I really don't know a whole lot. I just showed up and helped. And they're like, well, you could interview people that know more than you do. I was like, that's the key, right? I just ask the question. It's up to my guest to figure out all the answers, like what you're doing to me right now.
Yeah, like I'm asking you.
Yeah, you're like, oh, such a great guest. Travis, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone everything so I don't have a lot to say about this? Please go ahead and talk, which is exactly what I do on my show, right? Oh, tell me about this cool stuff that I don't know about. And we haven't even been around for 2 years yet. We spent last week in the top 10 in the U.S. and ranked in 5 other countries. Yes, having a blast doing it. Podcast Magazine did a feature on us. We were ranked number 11 in the top 25 of all veteran-hosted shows. FeedSpot did a feature on us, top 25 nonprofit-hosted shows. It wasn't 3 months. We were number 4 in the U.S., so just having a lot of fun doing it. It's really a how-to show for how nonprofits can do it better. And having so much fun helping the helpers.
So the conclusion of this is you started off, not knowing yourself. You just got the experience. You showed up, and that's how you learned. And then you started sharing what you did for free, right?
Yep.
Essentially. And now you're being rewarded, right?
Yeah.
Like by, reaching those ranks, not even financially. I don't know, but I'm saying, like, look at the work that you've done. So do you feel like it's your calling that all that happened for you, to get to where you are now?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like when we go to the gym, it's a planned thing, right? We go and we rip our muscles apart and then they rebuild, and we rip them apart and rebuild them. And we're building those muscles through that repetition.
Yeah.
When you have traumatic experiences, if you get the help, you are learning a different skill set that other people don't have and don't make it through. When all those things were happening for me.
Right.
See the wink? Notice the wink. I want to make sure the guests see the wink. When the things that are happening for you, not to you, they're happening for you, you can detach yourself from the situation a little bit, pull back and understand what it is that you're looking at. And you're like, Travis, how does all that trauma help you? It doesn't help me per se, except for to get new perspectives. But what it did help us do is we had a friend in this situation where he was with a woman that was vicious, vile, and had the resources to make his life hell.
Wow.
She convinced the Navy, all of his friends, and his parents that he was the jerk, that he was the abuser, that he was the all this and that.
Wow.
And I was able to walk in the situation and see exactly what was going on, that it was her actually causing all the problems. We got him out of the Navy. We got him away from her, hand delivered him to West Lafayette, Indiana, where he was from, and got him enrolled in college. And now he is a graduate of Purdue. He's happily married, working for Lockheed Martin down in Fort Worth.
Oh, congrats. I worked there at the Navy base as a security official at the desk. So that's so cool.
Yeah. It allowed me, all that crap that I went through, it allowed me to see that. And it allows me to see that in situations all over. I can't tell you how many countless experiences that we've been involved with where all the things that I learned, all the things I was being prepared for, I was able to see and have an actual impact.
I have so much to talk to you about, like aside from on here, because we have so much in common about our life. But tell us more about the nonprofit architect. Like, so that's your new logo. I really like it. And
These
yeah,
right
yeah.
here? Yeah.
Isn't that it? It's a new one.
That's it. That's the one.
Wow.
I have a new mug. It's smaller and was mass produced.
I don't like those small
The
mugs.
cool new logo, but this mug is ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to know where to get one,
Yeah, I do.
they give it to you right here. Hick Strong.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
The size of the mug, do you know how many ounces that is? Because mine's 15, so it looks big, you know?
This is way bigger. If this is my fist,
yeah,
like, easily
Where
going
do you
in
get
this
those? I need to find out things. I looked into steel and silicone and bamboo, you know, so it's unbreakable, and looking into different things, you know, more environmental friendly as well.
Mm-hmm. This is not. This is.
I know. I've had a few mugs break. Like a few mugs have arrived broken. You know, sometimes things just happen. So, so yeah, I want to know the nonprofit architect. Like, what's your goal with that? Do you have like a specific goal now?
You know, you would think I would, based on the things I've done with my life.
Right.
Look, you can't see it off screen here, but like these are.
Yeah, I do.
You know what? I'm gonna move the camera so you can see
Yeah,
them.
I see it.
Bam. Those are my wings of gold because I fly for the Navy.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
That is so fun.
I came in and enlisted at the bottom of the stack and worked my way up, and eventually got accepted to an officer program. They sent me to the University of Oklahoma full time and sent me to flight school. And I'm not a pilot. I'm a back-end guy. I'm a mission commander. Because they need people to do the job, not just fly the plane. They're like my bus drivers. And anyone listening now is going to give me a hard time. And then the Navy sent me back for my master's degree as well, which I finished that up this spring.
Congrats. Yeah, I'm going to be a doctor. Yeah, so I also will be doing that. But that was, you know, what I was like, either do Tri Together now or a master's, because to build both at the same time, that's burnout. So I have to make a decision. So did you experience that as well? So, you know, how was your balance with that while you were podcasting in school? And
balance? What's balance?
What balance, right?
My schedule is very heavily packed. Like after this, I have another mastermind group that I'm a part of. I have an hour of that. Then I have another hour of it. Then I have lunch scheduled with my beautiful wife. And then I've got another call scheduled after that. Like it's back to back to back to back to back. The things I make sure I do is get hydrated, get the proper amount of sleep, and go to the gym.
I can tell.
This is all part of Kevin Hines's art of wellness. You have to do the things to stay healthy and to get the things done. Like this is part of my mental health right here. Sharing my story has done wonders for my mental health because I can just rattle it off. I can say 36 moves, 12 schools, 6 states, 5 foster homes, surviving 2 murder attempts without crying. See this? No tears. Look at this. See this? It wasn't always true. The first time I got up in public and spoke about my background and my history and what happened to me, it didn't go so well. I wasn't this smooth. I wasn't this paced with my voice. I got to a point where it really hit me. The emotions really hit me. And then I started talking kind of fast, and then I finished up real quick, and they were like, "You're done already?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm done." But meeting new people and connecting and building real connections and talking about real things that are not weather, that are not sports, that are not what do you do?
Jobs.
Your job for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Talking and having real conversations, having those sex, political, money, religion talks with people that you trust and talking about real issues. That's where you build a real connection and you find out who you are and what you're missing and what they know that you don't know. And you really get into it. And before you know it, you feel wonderful and you're able to do and talk to anyone, anywhere, at any time about anything because you're able to remove yourself from the emotion and get past it all. So usually when I tell my story and I'm in front of a group of new people, I'm like, I'm going to tell you a sad story. I'm going to keep it short and know that I'm already over it. So if you're trying to feel bad for me, don't feel bad for me. It was part of the process. It was happening for me, not happening to me. And some people are like, how can you say it like that? Because I've been through the process. Again, the fault wasn't mine that these things happened to me, but it's my responsibility to take action and move forward.
I really like that. Wow. So what do you offer now to people? I'm not going to hold you up way too long. So do you offer, I know do you teach people now about their nonprofits to help them with it? Like as something you do?
So the show is the large offering for how-to stuff. What I really enjoy and what our big focus is to help other nonprofits start their own podcast for all the reasons that you love doing what you do and I love doing what I do. But nonprofits, a lot of nonprofits walk around and no one knows who they are or what they do.
That's so true.
I'm highlighting today on the show Hickstrong.
Yeah, I would never know.
Mug, because you don't know who they are, right? And there's 1.5 million nonprofits in the U.S. and there's 53,000 veteran-based nonprofits in the U.S. and no one knows who the heck they are by and large.
No.
One of the things that a show like this can do for you, is if you don't know a lot about your industry, you can interview other people and let them come up with all the answers, right? So then every person you interview, you get smarter about your industry and your cause and your mission and your vision. Everyone that you talk to then gets connected to them. And even though they're like, Travis, aren't we competing with other nonprofits? Not really. Plus, by having them on your show, you now have access to their audience. So every new person you interview, you gain access to a whole new audience. Like right now, I'm borrowing Prativa's audience because I host my own show. At the end, I'll say, check out my show, right?
Listen, I would connect you with every single friend anyway.
Right. But the difference is, instead of me going out and going to speech after speech after speech after speech, I'm creating this content. I'm creating something that I don't have to figure out what I'm talking about. The guest is responsible for that. Once I've created the show, I don't have to figure out what I post on social media, because if I ask at least 5 questions, I have a Monday post, a Tuesday post. It takes the pain out of figuring out what am I going to post this week about my nonprofit, right? When you actually put this on your web page, it now builds SEO. If you go Google right now, Nonprofit Architect Podcast, I'm like the first 3.5 pages of Google. Right? You're not paying someone $20,000 or $5,000 a month to do your SEO. They have things like the Google Ad Grant that's $10,000 a month in free Google ads that you can use to drive people to your podcast you've now created. So instead of just having a digital brochure out there, you're actually creating content and creating a reason for people to go back to your website over and over and over again, because you have some reason for them to come back to, right? You go to a nonprofit website, so this is who we are, this is what we do, please give us money. You go to a nonprofit's website that hosts a blog, a vlog, or a podcast, you're like, ooh, who are they talking to this week? Oh, I didn't know that about veteran homelessness. I didn't understand this about cat rescue. I didn't understand this about suicide. Wow. Oh, and now you have reasons to go back. It's right. It's like a news source or social media. They have new content, which is the big draw. And the special thing about being a nonprofit and hosting your own show is you can interview people like the mayor, the city planner, your state elected representatives like the county commissioner, the senator, the representative, or the federal and stinking governor, right? So now you've got these officials on record talking about your cause, right? And then when this thing comes up in the legislature, like, who are we going to know that's the expert in this area? Well, they're going to know you, because you're the one that brought them onto your show, talk about those things. And now when this comes up, they're going to bring you into the conversation. So now you have a foot in the legislative advocacy, helping actually write the rules about the thing that you're doing.
Wow.
How would this happen if you didn't have your own show?
It wouldn't. And I have something to say. If I didn't have Chai Together, I wouldn't be having Miss Maggie Doyne. She's the founder of the Blink Now Foundation. Have you heard of that? No, right? And I hadn't either, but she opened a children's school in Nepal at the age of 19. She took $5,000 of her savings, bought the property, and children live there now. And I didn't even know how, let's say, big she was, right? Because she's older now. And I connected with her through my old Arby's manager when I was 19 years old. My old manager from fast food went there, volunteered in Nepal, told me about it before I even had Chai Together. I've been donating to her cause, following her foundation for about 2 years. Now she knows me and she's coming on Chai Together and she loves it. But listen to this. She was in Forbes, has over $50,000 public following. She's in Goldcast, like on YouTube and different things. I had no idea. So it's like, you just don't know like how great or impactful someone is until you you said research on Google, right? That's what I did. I'm like, wow, like I just thought, oh, it's just this one thing. But I have to connect her with you. That was my point.
Absolutely. I'd love to have her on the show. And people are like, well, nonprofit show. Why should I listen to a nonprofit show? Look, it's a nonprofit business as different than a for-profit business. We interview nonprofit leaders, business leaders, consultants, people with special skills to help you do nonprofit work better and ultimately build a stronger nonprofit. Almost every single episode applies to start up business. It is not just what are nonprofits doing. It is like how the world works. There's people that talk about leadership, and we had an improv guy come on and talk about how to shake it up in the boardroom and do something different and create an environment where this stuff works. I've had Steve Sims on, the author of Bluefishing. I've had, who did I just interview? Bob Berg, the author of the Go Giver series, came on. That is a wonderful man to talk to. Next week I've got Asha Curran on the show, and she's the founder of Giving Tuesday. If you're not sure what Giving Tuesday is, right? You've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then Giving Tuesday on December 1st.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. They brought in $2.47 billion in a single day.
Wow.
They convinced Facebook to give $7 million in matching funds on that day. That's a conversation you want to hear, whether you're in nonprofit or for-profit.
Wow. You have all incredible content. Like, I need to listen to this. Seriously.
You do. You absolutely do.
I can learn myself because you have to sustain. A friend of mine was saying, how am I doing this? As in, usually people stop or give up. It's going to be 1 year for me coming up in like 2 months. And it's innate, like it's inside of me. It's a calling, right? Like it's my passion. I have to do this. And like you were saying, if you don't have a platform, if I wasn't to have this, I wouldn't have Maggie and other future guests who are going to be coming on because I don't have anything to offer to have them on or connect with them in any other way.
It's crazy because like, when you look at me, if you look at the stats from me growing up, what do you expect from someone like me? You don't expect much.
Right.
Society
maybe alcoholic or drugs, alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. In the gutter with needles hanging out with my arms were 2 or 3 kids from 2 or 3 different ladies. And, no one would bat an eye and be like, oh, he was a foster kid. No big deal. Yeah. Or he was, his mother had problems. So like, they don't expect anything from you.
No.
Right. You go into the military and people have this idea of what the military is, right? They immediately flash to movies like Full Metal Jacket or pick your favorite World War II movie. And it's not like that. Vast majority of it's run like a business. Like I've never been in combat. I've been in 21 years next month. Or actually, today's July 1st, this month, 21 years of service.
Congrats.
I've been in the Navy. Yeah. I've got 21 days of sea time. Like, just the way it works out, People are like, Navy? He's like, got 21 days. I was in for 1 tour, and I've got almost 3 years of sea time. Well, when you're on an airplane too big for the ship, you tend to avoid the boat. People have all these preconceptions about whatever that you can, should, whatever could do. And they're like, well, podcasting, like, isn't it hard? Not really. It's only hard because you haven't done it yet. People, the average person gives up after 7 episodes. We're
Wow.
coming up on 90 published. We've got over 100 recorded. Like my recordings are already into October. So if I do
I
nothing
bet.
for the
Yeah.
next 3 months, I still have episodes coming out. They're like, well, I'm not very good. Well, no kidding. Guess what? Fun fact, first 10 episodes, I was awful. They're still
Right.
published. You can go back and see just how terrible I was. I had no idea what I was doing. Or I
Yeah.
have no idea what I'm talking about. 11 through 20, I get a little bit better, but not till like mid-20s do I start to hit my stride
Mm-hmm.
and find your voice and figure out what the heck you're
Where it's
talking
like
about.
effortless, right? Naturally, you just
Yeah.
can speak. Yeah.
Yeah, how much prep work did we do for this? We fired it up. We said hello and said, all right, we're recording.
I didn't do anything. Like I just showed up. Like I have, your bio and that's about it. And the rest is just my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you start doing these things
Mm.
and then people are like, I want to talk to you. All of a sudden, people are excited to talk to you. Like, oh, I can't wait to get on with Pratibha. Could you help me with this? This would be wonderful. Yeah. So like when people are like, why would you do this thing and talk to all these strangers? I'm like, these are people I don't know that are excited to talk to me.
Yeah.
Like it gets me fired up every time I talk to a new person.
It's fulfilling for you.
Yes, absolutely. It's fulfilling. And I can't think of a single host that it doesn't get them
that's
fulfilled
true.
and built up, right? Because if it doesn't, you don't do it.
Right.
Yeah. No one's forcing me to do this. No one's like, oh, you got to get that show up. You got to get it produced. You got to get it out there. You've got to do this. Like, no one's telling me this. No one's doing this for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know people always ask, well, Travis, where can we find you? Again, Nonprofit Architect Podcast, one of the first 3.5 pages of Google. I'm on every stinking thing out there.
Yeah.
Think of a platform, and people are like, what about Ghana that's like focused in India? Yeah, I'm on that one. Like, well, what about Internet Movie Database? Are you there? Can I find your episodes there? Like, yes, you can. Like anywhere you can think of. Yeah, you can get your show on there too. It's actually really easy. I did it like last week. I didn't know I could do that. Someone else did it.
I need to do all of this.
Yes, well, absolutely. And then I can put that I was on your show, and then I can get Internet Movie Database credit for being a guest on your show. That was one of my goals.
I like that monkey in the back, by the way. Is that the sailor monkey or what is
I hate StreamYard because it's not a mirror. This is my graduation monkey.
Oh, wow. For your master's?
Graduating college. My good friends, Tiffany and Daniel, got this for me. This spins, and there's like a song, and I'm not going to play it for you.
I have to say that, your life is 100% fulfilling, and you've really created it to be a great life, with friends, family. You're not a product of your product. Like, it's amazing.
We get to decide. No one tells us that we get to decide. They say the school system's broken, but the school system operates exactly how it was designed, to create people that don't ask too many questions and to create taxpayers. It's done a great job of doing that. It was actually designed to get us to operate in factories for the Industrial Revolution. Like you get there, you sit in class, column file, don't ask too many questions, and the whistle blows, then you change spots on the line, then you have a union mandated lunch, then you do it again in the afternoon. Right? That's exactly how it was designed in the 1890s. But here's the deal. You get to choose the life you want to live. I put in for retirement. I'll be retiring from the Navy early spring. Yes, I'm excited. And people are like, aren't you worried? No, I've been designing what I want to do for the last couple of years. Well, aren't you worried about a job? Why would I want to go get a job? Why would I want to be forced to go to a building somewhere every day that I can't live the life I want to live? But how are you going to make money? What does that have to do with having a job? Nothing to do with having a job.
I don't have a job.
If I get a speaking gig in Rio and I decide that I want to stay in Rio for an extra couple of weeks, that's what I'm going to do.
I love it.
I'm creating this laptop empire to be able to go do what I want, where I want, no matter what's going on in the world. Like, I want to take my wife to Greece, after I retire.
Do you know Dave Arm?
Huh?
Oh, sorry. Dave Arm. He lives in Greece. I'm going to connect you with him. Go ahead.
Yeah, please do. I always want to meet new people everywhere I go.
Yeah.
If you're not a traveler and you're listening to this, the first thing you should do when going anywhere is connecting to the locals so they can show you all the stuff that tourists don't know about.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. I flew I flew out to Vienna to meet a guy I met on the internet and then ended up spending the week with his family in his house in Budapest.
Wow. And you were safe, and this was, you felt safe?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, what we don't know is only bad news makes it overseas, right? All the news we get from around the world is the worst news possible.
Yeah.
And all the news they get about America is the worst news possible.
Yeah.
That's the only news that makes it overseas. Turns out there's people everywhere and they have families and they want to do good stuff for their life. They want to make money. They want their kids to be secure and successful. And it's the same everywhere.
Wow.
There's always a few jerks trying to mess it up. I want to spend the year in the Middle East wearing my Christian t-shirts, talking to people on the street.
Really?
No problems. I met a guy. I was out walking one evening. I met a guy. He's like, "You're hilarious. You should come to my wedding." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "It's in Alexandria in Egypt on the Med." So I flew to Egypt to go to this guy's wedding that I met and spent a week with his family and friends in Alexandria. I was the only white guy in the country. I was wearing a bourbon t-shirt. No one had a problem with me. Like,
wow.
We just make up that everyone has a problem with everybody else. Well, Travis, you could do this because you've got your white privilege card. You can. I can't do this because I'm, pick a category, pick a whatever, right? The only one holding you back is you. Is you. Stop it. Stop it. Why are you putting these restraints on yourself? No one told me I couldn't go fly for the Navy, so I did it. No one told me you can't start a podcast. I did it. You don't tell yourself this stuff. Well, I can't do that because of this. If you just said that to yourself, it's now true. But why are you putting restrictions on yourself?
Wow.
Why? Live the unlimited life. When you play Hungry Hippos, the game's over when you run out of marbles. What they don't tell you is you can just make more marbles. You get to choose the life that you want to live. If you want to get involved in nonprofit work, get involved in nonprofit work. Well, I don't have the time. Well, turn off the TV you watch for 6 hours a day and use the time you were watching TV to go do something else. But Travis, I don't know where to get started. You do. Just take the first step of saying you're going to start and start working. Well, Travis, I've been doing research on this thing for 2 years. Like using that as an excuse to not start, huh? What's preventing you? Are you gathering research or are you finding reasons not to make it work? Well, I mean, I'm worried about doing Facebook Lives because it's scary. It sure is. Guess what? Do them anyway. So you can go back and see, like, you know what? This is where I started, but look at where I'm at now.
Yeah. I did not look like this when I first started.
I went down to Pensacola recently, a couple of weeks ago, and I went to the old schoolhouse where I wasn't enlisted. Went through AME A school. It's how to work on ejection seats, right? My first tour was in F-18s on a flight deck, launching airplanes off the nose, all that fun stuff. We actually filmed behind enemy lines at my squadron. I got to mount a movie camera in the back of an F-18 20 years ago. It's probably one of the best movies that deals with SEER, survival, evade, resistance, and escape of what you would do if you were shot down in some other country. It's a phenomenal movie. And actually ended up going to SEER school as part of flight school, many years later. You go through and you learn how to fly and you have to learn how to swim and you swim a mile and they put you in the helo dunker. And then you end up going through SEER school exactly like, well, not exactly like G.I. Jane, but that's an inside the SEER school, probably in the 90s. You still get smacked around. They don't do waterboarding anymore, but you go through all these things. And college was impossible until I did it. Joining the Navy was impossible until I did it. Going through flight school was impossible until I did it. Starting a podcast was impossible until I did it. Just start the thing. Find some joy in your life. Do something fun. Get involved. Send Pratibha a message and say, hey, how can I get going on this?
Yes. Or how can I support you, Pratibha?
Yeah, definitely. How can I support you?
Yeah. Not even financially, just, can I help you with something for Try Together, or can I come on, or,
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like people hesitate to ask, even if they want to, do something, they won't ask, like, hey, like, are you looking for something I can do on here?
Take a chance.
Yeah.
Your wildest dreams exist right outside your comfort zone.
Mm,
Everything that I've ever done in my life, everything I've now accomplished, everything that we've read about, talked about, all that stuff is
mm,
currently in my comfort zone because I've now done it,
wow.
right?
Yeah.
And it's right outside your comfort zone. And as soon as you reach out and grab it, you don't pull it into your comfort zone just expands to encompass it. And pretty soon
Mm,
it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Now I can walk into a conference and talk on the drop of a dime without any prep about certain topics. Now I can go out to any meet and greet, turn it on and meet and greet with tons of people. I got to brief the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. For those of you that don't know about such things in the military, out of all the military people,
mm,
there's a head of each department, right? Department of the Air Force, Department of the Navy, Department of the Army, and they all have their chief, the top official, their top 4-star. Well, all those chiefs of all the different services, there's one that's elected and chosen to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. So the top military
mm,
official, General Milley, was out in Bahrain, and I got to brief him. And as expected, right? You have to know what to expect. Everyone's freaking out. The top guy in the military is coming to your base. Everyone that's calm, cool, and collected most days are like, "Do we have this right? Are we doing this thing?" Well, it's my job to brief him, and I'm standing up there, and there's another lieutenant, Gabby, her name is. She's over there watching me just get flooded with all these people coming to me and freaking out, and then running away, and then doing it again later, over and over and over throughout the day as we're preparing this thing. And I deliver the brief and all this fun stuff with some other fellow junior officers and myself. And he's he stops me in the middle of it. He's like, "LT, do you see what's going on here?" And I said, "Sir, like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "I've never been in a briefing like this where the whole room is so calm." He's like, "I think it's your voice." I said, "Oh, really? Is it my voice?" And he's
wow.
like, "Continue." Everyone chuckled and finished the brief. And this other LT, Gabby, she comes over. She's like, "How did you do that?" I was like, "How did I do what?" She's like, "I watched all these commanders and all these captains come up to you and just
Mm,
basically freak out on you all day preparing for this thing. And you were fine." I was like, "Well, they weren't talking to me." She's like, "They were. I saw them. They were coming up to you and they're freaking out on you and then running away and then doing it again." I was like, "They weren't freaking out on me." She's like, "They were. I saw it." I was like, "They were freaking out whoever was in this uniform standing here. They
mm-hmm.
weren't attacking Travis." And I
Wow.
knew they'd be like this all day. I saw it coming. And she's like, "I've got no idea how you do that." I was like, "Had nothing to do with me."
Wow. That's so
Yeah.
true. And you're calm now too throughout this whole time. You're just chill. You're like, hold on, I need to take a sip.
Well, no one's straddling me and trying to smother me. No one's shooting at me.
Wow.
Right?
Did you ever get shot at?
There's no there's no stress. Everything
Wow.
that we perceive as stress, 90% of it never happened.
Wow.
Zig Ziglar was like, the media has successfully forecasted
Mm,
2 of the last 37 financial meltdowns, right? All the media does is freak out on you. Whatever side you're on, it's their job to keep you scared and tell you
mm,
about all the news about all the things that scare you. If you're on
mm-hmm.
the left, they tell you about the radical right white guy that's coming to get you. If
Mm,
you're on the right, they're telling you about how immigrants are stealing your jobs. If
mm.
you're
Oh, yeah.
wherever the thing is, right?
No, I'm not.
Whatever side, yeah, yeah, you right there. Whatever whatever side you're on, it's their job to invoke emotion and keep you scared. So I don't watch the news.
Yeah, I don't watch news either. I don't have a TV for about, I think, 10 years or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah. It's
Mhm.
it's those things that they want to get you scared and freaked out because if you're scared, they can control you.
Yeah.
And
It's so true.
there's
Like
no
about the vaccines recently. No comment.
Which one is? I mean, is it Y2K? Is it avian flu? Is it bird flu? Is it swine flu? Is it Zika virus? Is it West Nile? Is it what's the new thing? We've got to go to plastic bags because paper bags are killing the rainforest. Now we've got plastic bags. We're like, oh, plastic bags. You got to go to sustainable because we're filling up the landfill. Like which one is it? And I know some people are probably mad at me, like Travis. Well, if we didn't take action then, well, the rainforest would be gone. Rainforest produces localized oxygen. If you look at an oxygen map over the U.S., we've got acres and acres and acres and acres of corn and soybeans and all that fun stuff producing oxygen for us. Don't worry about the oxygen in the rainforest. We're going to be just fine.
Wow. So much knowledge. Wow. I have one last question I want to ask you. And that question is, you went into the Navy. So, how I mentioned, I was running away because of, my mom as well. So for you, did you go because of your situation, or that's truly something like you wanted to do and you already planned? Or
well, I ran away at 16. I moved in with my grandma and I told my mom, if you love me, you're not going to say anything about this. You're just going to let it happen. And she didn't. And the Navy was a way for me to really take charge of my own life. Because at the time I graduated high school at 17, I was working 3 jobs. I get up every morning and I would go open up the store, Burger King. I
did the same thing. Yeah. I just have to say, there's so much in common. No, people don't know this. I used to work 60 hours a week at Burger King. Sometimes I open the store and anyway, continue.
I go open the store at Burger King and then I go drive across town to go work the lunch counter at the bowling alley. And small caveat here, if you're in the South, you have no idea what I'm talking about, because up north, there's only 2 things to do in the winter, and one of them's bowling. So their food is amazing. Handmade pizzas, hand-spun malts, Philly chicken, Philly steak, like amazing food. Soup of the day and chili every day. Like it was a destination for lunch. And then I would go to Walmart and unload truck from 5 p.m. to 2 in the morning. And I did that 5 days a week. And my dad came to me. He's like, hey, I've got a job for you out at the local college here as a maintenance guy, $18 an hour. And at the time, minimum wage was like $5.50. Right. So an $18 an hour job was like a dream. And I turned it down. I was like, Dad, I've already got 3 jobs. I don't need another job.
Oh my gosh.
3 crappy jobs get 1 good job,
Yeah.
And I took that advice, but I didn't take the job he offered me because I thought that, and I know I talked to him and he's like, you were stupid, like to not take this job. I'm like, I agree with you, but I didn't think it had any growth potential. I thought that taking that job meant I would be stuck in that small town and the small town mindset forever. And joining the Navy gave me the opportunity. They didn't care, who I was, where I came from, what things I had been through, as long as I showed up ready to work in the uniform of the day, I was golden. I could operate inside their set of laws, their core values. And as long as I did that, I would be successful. And I got promoted my first time to E2, to E3, to E4, to E5. Took a couple of times for E6 because it's just so many points you need to cross over the hump. I applied for an officer program my first time and they said yes.
Wow.
Went through flight school, got my degree, all that fun stuff. My first year in the Navy, I made like $10,000 for the whole year. That's, like six to 800 a month, something like that. And now I'm making considerably more. We'll just put it that way. If you Navy types out there, look up O3E over 20 plus flight pay. I'm doing all right for myself. But again, this goes back to you live the life that you design.
Wow.
And if you design your life to be minimum wage, then that's what you've designed your life to be. If you designed your life to be drinking on the weekends, then that's what it's going to be. If you design your life to be something more and you're going to contribute and show up, then that's what it's going to be.
Wow. I'm going to take this, wisdom for myself as I continue on. Yeah.
Please do. It's not just reserved for your guests. You can take it also.
Yeah, I need to. It was so great having you on. So everyone can find you at the Nonprofit Architect. Is it
That's right.
.com?
.org, nonprofitarchitect.org. Find me on all social, Nonprofit Architect. Fun fact, if you put Nonprofit Architect into Facebook and you search people, I'm the only result, so you can't possibly miss me.
Wow.
Or if you go put Nonprofit Architect into Linktree, all of my links will be available to you anywhere and everywhere that I am, and all that I do will be available to you.
It's so great. You're greatly rewarded.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on Chai Together.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Stay awake.